Hello students, welcome back to Edupedia Word Videos. My topic for the presentation is second section of the chapter Kingdom Plantae. In this section of the video, we will be discussing about the Bryophyta, which is a second class of Kingdom Plantae. Students, you may be familiar with green moss growing on a rock. Moss is a bryophyte, a type of a non-vascular plant which is found near fresh water. So this section of the video, it will describe bryophytes including mosses, liverworts and hornworts. Okay, so let's proceed towards our topic, that is Bryophyta. Bryophyta is a word derived from bryon, which means moss, and phyton means plants. I repeat, Bryophyta, if you just break the terminology, then you'll find that bryon means moss and phyta means plants. It includes the simplest and primitive land plants. Due to peculiar type of their habitats, they are regarded as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Students, have you ever fallen on a slippery rock while fishing or exploring a stream? If so, you have been a victim of bryophytes. Don't worry, they are nothing to be feared. Bryophytes, they are small. As you can see, they are few centimeters tall. They are non-vascular land plant that require water for reproduction, and land plant, they fall into two categories: those that have a special tissue to transport water and other material, which is called as vascular plants, and those that do not have a specialized tissue, they are called as non-vascular plants. So bryophytes, they are non-vascular plants. Bryophytes, they are non-vascular, so they do not have the right type of tissues to develop root, stem and leaves. Students, there are three main types of bryophytes. First is mosses, second is liverworts, and third is hornworts. Okay, and some scientists now only consider mosses to be bryophytes, but we'll discuss all three in this section of the video. Okay, so bryophyta means, bryon means moss and phyton means plant, so it includes the simplest and primitive land plants. Due to the peculiar type of their habitats, they are regarded as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Habitat, if you see, then they grow almost in moist and shady places. They have specialized habitats. They grow in diverse habitats such as aquatic. That's why they are called as amphibian, because they can survive in water also, they can survive in terrestrial region also. So that's why they are regarded as amphibians of plant kingdom. So as I said, that they have specialized habitat, they have diverse habitats such as aquatic, for example Riccia and Riciocarpus, uh, and epiphytes such as Dendroceros, and saprophytes such as Bexbaria aphylla. They are aquatic plants. Now if we talk about the dry habitat plants such as dry heads, for example Polytrichum, and deserts one are Tortula, and dry rocks such as Porella. So they thrive in dry habitats, okay, in xerophytic conditions. So that's the reason they are regarded as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Okay, and if we talk about the reproduction, it takes place by means of sexual reproduction. The male sex organ is called as entheridium and the female is called as archegonium. I repeat, male sex organ is entheridium and female sex organ is archegonium. Okay, so Bryophyta, mostly terrestrial plants which depend on external water for fertilization and completion of their life cycle. Hence they are called as amphibian plants. I repeat, most terrestrial plant which depend on external water for fertilization and completion of their life cycle, they are called as amphibian plants. So Bryophyta is considered as amphibian plants because of this very reason. They grow in shady and moist places such as moist wall, damp rock, moist soil, and on decaying logs. They show thalloid plant body which is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaf. Please note that they show thalloid plant body which is not differentiated into root, stem, and leaves. In bryophytes, true roots they are absent. I repeat, in bryophytes, no root is present. That means no true root is present. But instead of that, rhizoids are present. Rhizoids are what? They are unicellular in liverworts, while they are multicellular in mosses. They absorb water and mineral and they help in the fixation of thallus to the substratum of the soil. So rhizoids has its own significance because it helps in absorption of water and mineral, and they also help in fixation of thallus to the substratum. Okay, see, this is the alternation of generation of Bryophyta. See, this is sporangium. Spores, it undergoes meiosis to produce a haploid number of spores. That's why it is one end here. Then it give rise to leafy gametophyte, which give rise to gametophyte, and which in the later stages of progression give rise to archegonium, which has egg present inside it, and spores also produce male gametophyte, which is haploid in number, which eventually give rise to entheridium, which has sperm stored within it. Now this sperm and this egg, they just fertilize and it forms zygote, and zygote in the later stages of progression it forms embryo which is diploid in nature. It is also considered as young sporophyte, and then this young sporophyte eventually gets converted into female gametophyte. Okay, and then finally sporophyte, which is diploid in nature. So this was the haploid gametophyte generation and this was the diploid sporophytic generation. Now let's see what's the difference between sporophyte and gametophyte, students. First we'll talk about the gametophyte. The main plant body, which is called as thallus of bryophyte, is haploid. Okay, it produces gametes, hence it is called as gametophyte. Why it is called as gametophyte? Because it produces gametes. That's the reason the main plant body, which is also called as thallus of bryophyte, it is haploid in nature. On contrary to this, the zygote produces a multicellular body which is called as sporophyte. Okay, and the sporophyte, it is non-living, or you can say not free living, but it is attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte and it derives nourishment from it. The sex organ in bryophytes, they are multicellular. Okay, and the male sex organ is called as entheridium that produce biflagellate entherozoids. That means you can say sperm, they are biflagellate. Entheridium is male reproductive organ and entherozoids, you can say it is a sperm, and that sperm is biflagellate. The female sex organ is called as archegonium, which is a flask shaped and it produces a single egg. And entherozoids, they are released into water where they come in contact with archegonium. That means a sperm gets in contact with egg in water, and entherozoid, it just fuses with the egg to produce the zygote, which is diploid. So the gametophyte is the dominant green haploid and independent phase. I hope gametophyte is now clear to you. Now we'll talk about the sporophyte, students. The zygote, it produces a multicellular body which is called as a sporophyte, and the sporophyte is not free living, but it is attached to the photosynthetic gametophyte and it derives nourishment from it. Some cells of the sporophyte, okay, some cells of the sporophyte, they undergo reduction division, which is also called as meiosis, to produce haploid spores, and these spores, they germinate to produce gametophyte, and thus sporophyte is diploid in nature, unlike gametophyte which is haploid. Okay, but sporophyte, it is diploid, it is recessive, and it is partially dependent on gametophyte. It is partially dependent on gametophyte, and this gametophyte, it is independent phase, it is haploid, it is dominant and green phase, whereas sporophyte, it is diploid, recessive, and partially dependent on gametophyte. So it is just opposite to gametophyte. Students, bryophytes are of three types, which are those: hepatic Copsida, Anthoceraptopsida, and Bryopsida. Okay, so the plant body of liverwort. Liverwort is what? Hepaticopsida. Okay, that is liverwort. So the plant body of liverwort is thalloid. For example, it is seen in Mercentia. I repeat, it is seen in Mercentia. The thallus, which is a plant body, it is dorsiventral and closely appressed to the substrate. The leafy members, they have very tiny leaf-like appendages in two rows of the stem-like structure. And asexual reproduction in liverwort, it takes place by fermentation, or you can say fragmentation of thallus, and by the formation of a specialized structure which is called as gamete. Gamete, they are green, they are multicellular, they are asexual bud which develop in a small receptacle, and that is called as gamete caps, which are located on the thalli. See, this is the gamete cap. They are green, they are multicellular, they are asexual buds which develop in small receptacles which are located on one thalli. And the gamete, they become detached from parent body and they germinate to form new individuals. And during sexual reproduction, male and female sex organs, they are produced either on the same or different thallus. The sporophyte, it is differentiated into foot, seta, and capsule. And after meiosis, spores, they are produced within capsule. So these spores, they germinate to form another free living gametophytes. So it was about the hepaticopsida, which is also called as liverwort. Now we'll talk about the mosses, which is called as Bryophyta, which is a third category of Bryophyta. The gametophyte, which consists of two stages. Okay, I'm talking about the mosses. Okay, the gametophyte, it consists of two stages. The first stage is protonema stage, which develops directly from a spore. That means from a spore protonema is formed. And the second stage is leafy stage, which develops from secondary protonema as a lateral bud. And it consists of upright, slender axis bearing spirally arranged leaves. And they are attached to the soil through multicellular and branched rhizoids. This stage, it bears sex organs. Vegetative reproduction in mosses takes place by two processes. First is fragmentation and second is budding. Budding means bud off. Okay, and from where? From secondary protonema. Okay, and apart from these two processes, sexual reproduction takes place, in which the sex organ, that is enthymia and archegonia, they are produced at the apex of the leafy shoot. And after fertilization, zygote develops into a sporophyte, which consists of foot, seta, and capsule. The sporophyte in mosses is more elaborate than that in liverworts, and the capsule, it contains spores, and the spores are formed after meiosis. The mosses, they have an elaborate mechanism of spore dispersal. For example, it is seen in Funaria, Polytrichum, and Sphagnum. Okay. Now we'll see the silent features of each class. First is Hepaticopsida. The Latin word hepatica means liver. Thus the members of Hepaticopsida, they are popularly called as liverworts. Okay. Now we'll not go much in detail about it. It's not of very much importance. Then comes another class, and that is Anthoceratopsida. Okay, I repeat, Anthoceratopsida. This class is characterized by following characters. Gametophyte, it is thalloid. Thalli, they are lobed. They are dorsiventral. They are internally homogeneous without any differentiation of tissue. And air chambers and air pores, they are completely absent, but mucilage cavities may be present. And rhizoids, because true root is absent, so rhizoids are present and they are very smooth walled. Scales are absent and each cell possesses single large chloroplast with central parinoid. Okay, oil bodies are absent in it. Antheridia, which is a male reproductive organ, they are endogenous in origin. They are born singly or in group inside the closed cavities. Sporogonium, it is differentiated into foot, meristematic zone and capsule, but seta is absent. And capsule, it has a central sterile columella. Okay, so this is another class, that is Anthoceropsida. Now third is Bryophyta, which is mosses. They are commonly known as mosses. The class, it is characterized by following characters. First, Gametophyte, it is differentiated into two stages: prostrate protonema and erect radial leafy shoot. Leaf-like appendages, they are spirally arranged on a stem-like axis. See, they are like leaf-like appendages and they are spirally arranged on the stem-like axis. Rhizoids are multicellular with oblique septa. See students, true roots is completely absent in it. Instead of true roots, rhizoids are seen, and they are multicellular with oblique septa. Sex organs, they develop from superficial cells. Sporogonium, it is differentiated into foot, seta and capsule. Wall of capsule, it is several layered with stomata on epidermis. The capsule, it has central columella and elaters are completely absent in Bryophyta class, that is mosses. So phylum Bryophyta, you can say that Gametophyte is dominant instead of a Sporophyte. They lack vascular tissue. They are non-vascular plants. They are homosporous. They possess waterproof cuticle. Dispersal of spores takes by wind-blown spores, and swimming sperm is seen in Bryophyta. Now we'll talk about the moss life cycle, students. See students, Bryophyta in general are of little importance, little economic importance, but some mosses, they provide food for herbaceous mammal, birds and other animals. Okay, now we'll talk about the moss life cycle. See, this is the male gametophyte which produces antheridia, and by water drop, you can say, um, dispersal takes place and a sperm just gets dispersed and it reaches the archegonium, which is a female reproductive part where egg is present inside it, and this sperm goes and just, you can say, fertilizes this egg, and this layer, it is showing a raindrop. So with the help of raindrop, this fertilization takes place from antheridia to archegonium. Okay, so this was the gametophore, this is the rhizoid, and this produces archegonia, which is a female gametophyte which has egg present in it, and thus sperm and egg just gets fertilized and zygote is formed. Then after this zygote, mitosis takes place and then embryo is formed which gets converted into young sporophyte, and eventually female gametophytes, or you can say a mature sporophyte is formed. This is the foot, this is the capsule which contains sporangium, this is the seta, foot and capsule. These are the three parts of mature sporophytes, students. I hope it is now clear to you. This is same, students. This is the male gametophyte which produces antheridia, which is a male reproductive organ. With the help of raindrop, sperm dispersal takes place and it reaches the female reproductive part, which is also called as archegonium, which has egg present inside it, and this is the male gametophyte, and this is the female gametophyte which produces archegonium, which has egg present inside it, and thus sperm fertilizes the egg. Fertilization takes place within archegonium. See, this is taking place within the archegonium, and thus in later stages of progression it forms zygote which undergoes mitosis to produce embryo, and embryo give rise to a young sporophyte which has foot, capsule and setae, which undergoes meiosis to produce sporangium, and these sporangium give rise to mature sporophytes, and then gametophore is formed, and thus this cycle goes on and on and on. And from this sporangium spores are formed which undergoes mitosis to form protonema, and from protonema to bud, and thus a male gametophyte is formed. Okay, so I hope it is clear to you now how moss life cycle takes place. Alternation of generation in mosses. See, fuzzy green vegetative covering frequently found in rocks in cool, moist habitats. Haploid gametophyte stage of moss life cycle. Okay. So, students, have you ever fallen on a slippery rock while fishing or exploring a stream? If so, you have been a victim of bryophyte. Okay, I have told you. See, this slippery area, it is because of the bryophytes. This is the zoom view. So, they are a type of a non-vascular plant and which is found near fresh water. See, this is the capsule, this is the seta, and this is the gametophyte, and capsule together with seta is sporophyte, which is a sturdy plant that takes months to grow. It is leafy, it is haploid gametophyte with emerging diploid sporophyte. I have already taught you in detail that from how haploid gametophyte give rise to a diploid sporophyte. Okay, this is the moss archegonia, which is viewed under microscope. This is the canal cell, this is the egg cell, and this is the venter. Okay, this is the egg. Okay, and this is the zoom view of egg which has neck canal cell, egg cell and venter. This is the moss enthredia. It is a gametophytic tissue, to be more precise male gametophyte, and it was all about it. In my next section of the presentation, I'll be explaining you about the pteridophytes. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching Wikipedia word videos. Thank you.